Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Tonight we got some big news about NASCAR, specifically the Ram brand. Now the very interesting thing is this article came out yesterday and it's got a lot of excitement about it. The reason why is obviously you can read the headline here. YouTube star Cleetus McFarland could drive prospective Ram NASCAR Truck Series team. Now this is from Adam Stern, who's from the Sports Business Journal, and what Adam usually posts is, like when he usually posts something online, it's usually the truth. He's got a really good track record, and this whole article that he posted kind of has a lot of people excited because if you know anything about the YouTube and automotive stuff on YouTube, obviously you know Cleetus McFarland. So I posted my own take on this on Mopar Insiders. I'm not gonna. You can go over to Mopar Insiders and kind of read it, in my own words. But I'm gonna talk about it on here and just kind of read you what Adam Stern put. Now, just to kind of flash back, we've been talking about Ram's return to NASCAR ever since just after the Daytona 500 this year. Now, we knew that Dodge and Ram have been trying to get back into the sport for several years, but after the Daytona 500, we actually heard from catchfence.com that they had put in writing to NASCAR. They had submitted a request saying, hey, we want to come back to the sport. And they requested that Ram could return as fast as 2026. So if you look, that's next year. So Ram will be back in competition. If they get their way, they'll be back in competition next year. Dodge, on the other hand, will be down the road. 2028 is what they're looking at coming back. The reason why we've talked about it several times is obviously the two series are quite different. Even though they're in the top three, tiers of NASCAR, the Craftsman Truck Series is a lot easier to come back. One is the trucks are very spec'd, pretty closely spec'd the same. They're older technology. The teams still, build their own chassis and stuff like that. However, if you look at the trucks, they're all the same from the A pillar backwards. Really, Ram would only have to do, or the Ram Product Design Studio or the design studio in Auburn Hills would really have to design basically a new design from the A pillar forward to get this truck into competition, following NASCAR's rules, of course. Then you actually look at they don't have a charter system for the Craftsman trucks, unlike the Cup Series teams. So that right there saves some time and money in trying to find a team. And the other thing is, instead of racing like the Cup Series, the Cup Series races OEM manufactured spec engines, even though NASCAR can basically, they control, how much power the engines make, all the specs of the engines. They're just, if you drive a Toyota, you have a TRD engine. If you have a Ford, you have a Ford engine. If you drive a Chevrolet, you have a GM engine. They still keep it that way. However, in the Craftsman Truck Series, almost everybody runs Ilmor racing engines. So they're a spec engine built by Ilmor Engineering here in Michigan. So that's the cool thing. Everybody has the same kind of engine program. You don't have to have a dedicated engine program for your manufacturer. So that saves time and money right there. So coming back to the Craftsman Truck Series is actually pretty reasonably priced considered what you have to do for Cup, because of this. You have the actual teams that have the charters, and teams pay multiple millions of dollars for these charters. And what that does is that guarantees them into each race for the season, as well as getting money, for their winnings. The other thing is if you have a sponsorship like through a certain company, you want as much exposure as possible. So having one of those charters guarantees you a spot into that race. So that's huge for those teams. But if Dodge is going to go deal with all that, they got to find an engine builder. They have to find a team that, has charters and that wants to switch over. And they have to basically, the Cup Series cars, even though they're not built by the teams anymore and they're manufactured from, a different company, and then teams just assemble them, they have to go and design. Dodge will have to go and design their own body, and it has to be within NASCAR specs. So again, a lot more development, a lot more time, a lot more costs. So it makes sense that Ram is going to basically beat them to competition first. So with that being said, we heard about that back after the Daytona 500. And then in the end of April, we've seen some news that said GMS Racing might be the team to basically bring Ram back to the Craftsman Truck Series. Now, why was GMS so important? Well, GMS doesn't exist right now. They kind of shut down their operations for Craftsman trucks a couple years ago. And with that being said, at one point, just a few years ago, they had a 4-truck team operation. Recently, they had a 3-truck team operation, but they had 4 at one time. And they were dominating the Craftsman Truck Series. Now, if you know anything about GMS Racing, it's owned by Maury Gallagher. Maury Gallagher is the CEO of Allegiant Airlines. He has a ton of money and he likes being very competitive, and he doesn't like being like one of those teams that just sits in the back of the field. So he ended up buying into basically going Cup Series racing with GMS. He bought into Petty Motorsports. Richard Petty Motorsports informed Petty GMS Racing. And then Jimmy Johnson, the 7-time Cup champion who went IndyCar racing, decided to come back to the sport, and he bought into the team as well. So now it's called Legacy Motor Club. So why is that important to all this? Well, Maury, his team obviously is part, has connections to the old Petty Enterprises teams, and they run the 43 and 44. Now, Richard Petty is a part, quote, owner in the team, but he's more of like a significant like role model kind of figure in the company. But you know dang well that Dodge wants that 43 number. And the funny thing is you look back what Chrysler Corporation did with Petty back in the 60s and 70s. Really, 1969 was the only year that Petty wasn't involved with the Chrysler Corporation. That was because they wouldn't build him a winged car like the Dodge Charger Daytona, so he left for Ford to go race the more competitive the Ford Torino Talladegas, and then when they built the Plymouth Superbird for him, he came back. So up until 1978, when basically Chrysler decided, hey, we're backing out of NASCAR because we're going through bankruptcy. Basically, they were in financial woes. They stopped their factory backing of Cup Series. Basically, Petty then went on to go with GM, and then back in 2001, when Dodge was returning, they obviously picked up Petty Enterprises then. They were with them when they merged with basically Everham, and Gillette bought them out. And, that was the thing. Right after that, they became a Ford team. So that's when Dodge went into a single team with Penske Racing, and that's what they ended up doing. It was a single-year contract, year to year, and that's not what Roger Penske wanted. So Roger Penske asked for a multi-year deal, and asked over and over again. And Ralph Gilles, who was head of SRT Motorsports at the time, did not give it to him. So Penske went and signed with Ford, leaving Dodge with nobody. And Dodge couldn't find anybody to kind of fill in for the 2013 season to release their new car. So they ended up leaving the sport totally. So with that being said, with Legacy Motor Club, I keep saying Motorsports, but it's Motor Club, it kind of gives them an opportunity to, if they go with GMS, kind of like a foot in the door with a team that has charters and that 43 number. Now, are they competitive? Sometimes, yeah, but they're not a huge competitive team. So, anyways, going back to Ram. So if they do the whole GMS racing thing, which several sources said that this is true, that would be a big thing. They could have, 2-3 trucks coming back to the series. However, now with Cleetus McFarland, we're hearing more stuff. So I want to read Adam Stern's article, and I think you'll find it very interesting. He put, YouTube star and ARCA driver Cleetus McFarland could get involved with the new prospective new NASCAR Craftsman truck team from Stellantis Ram brand should the automaker complete talks to enter the sport, according to 4 people familiar with the matter, and documents seen by SBJ, which is Sports Business Journal, which Adam writes for. McFarland, the auto enthusiast whose real name is Garrett Mitchell, has started to become something akin to NASCAR's version of Jake Paul this year by competing in real competition in what is effectively the sport's 4th division. He's brought along a massive fan base for the ride, something that has been helpful for a sport looking for breakout stars. So far this season, McFarland has made 3 starts in ARCA after debuting in Daytona in February, which he crashed out in, unfortunately. He has recorded 2 top 10 finishes and a best position of 9th. The other tracks he raced were Talladega and Charlotte. NASCAR has been heavily promoting him during the events, including airing his in-car camera on its YouTube page to tens of thousands of concurrent viewers. McFarland has been competing in ARCA for Rhett Jones Racing, which has recently said that it has other starts planned for the year that have yet to be announced. Stellantis' Dodge brand exited NASCAR after the 2012 season, and NASCAR has been working for over a decade to add a 4th manufacturer back to the sport. It hasn't had one join since Toyota started out in the Truck Series in 2004. Stellantis has said that likewise initially looking to re-enter the sport through the Truck Series as soon as next year, though nothing has been announced. The company and the people would form its new team has been in talks to enter NASCAR as soon as next year. SBJ and several outlets have reported this year, which we talked about. Catchfence.com in February first identified Ram as submitting an application to rejoin the series in 2026. Honda is also said to be eyeing a potential entry into NASCAR, though the timing of that is less clear. While McFarland has yet to detail his plans for next year, people familiar with the new Ram team's plans have identified him as one of the potential drivers, suggesting that he could graduate to the sport's third division next year. A document viewed by SBJ listed McFarland as one of the names slated to be part of the program as a driver and brand ambassador. It is unclear if the document was final, and it's possible that McFarland's plans could change. It was unclear whether he'd run partially or full-time. Nonetheless, the team is expected to lean on celebrity partnerships and potentially ownership to grow its presence quickly. So that right there says that McFarland could be, the celebrity partnership that they want, but it could lead into him owning a NASCAR team, which to him would be huge. SBJ was unable to reach McFarland for comment after the outreach through NASCAR in May, and Jonathan Mill, president of McFarland's FRDM Plus Media Network, did not immediately respond to a request for comment over the weekend. Mike Beam, president of GMS Racing, another entity that has been linked to a potential partner with the Ram program, did not respond to a text message seeking comment. On YouTube, McFarland has 4.4 million subscribers of his automotive-focused videos, which often feature spectacular stunts. He has another 2.6 million followers on Facebook and nearly 600,000 followers on TikTok. On YouTube, his following succeeds that of NASCAR, with the sanctioning bodies page only having about 1.5 million subscribers. Stellantis is named a new CEO last week, promoting America's COO, or Chief Operating Officer, Antonio Filosa. He told the Wall Street Journal last year that Stellantis needs to double down on growing its biggest names in the U.S. that include Jeep and Ram. So there you go. So there's a lot of potential for Cleetus to come into the Ram brand and possibly be an owner for a NASCAR team. Now, if you know anything about Cleetus, he started out with his vet cart. He was a GM guy. He then went to having a lot of Fords. He really loved the Crown Vics and stuff. He still does to this day. And then if you look at some of the stuff he's done recently, he's done a lot of stuff with Ram trucks. He cut down a Ram TRX to a regular cab and was doing it as a giveaway, and gave away a 4-door 1 and 2 depending on what the person wanted. And I think the person picked a 4-door, and he's still got the 2-door version of it. And then he's done these $2,000 challenges where he's chosen Ram trucks and stuff like that. So there is potential there for Ram to kind of get on board. And if they get him on board, that's huge for their marketing team. Huge. That's instant recognition into the sport. So it makes a lot of sense. Will we hear something from Ram soon? Who knows? But I'm thinking we probably will. But other than that, 2026 season is not that far off. We're already in silly season kind of stuff. We're hearing people switching teams. We're hearing all this stuff. And it's only going to get crazier. So, with that being said, you can read my version of the article down below. I'll put the comment or the link to the article in the description. But for the most part, it's cool seeing that, Adam Stern is very much a very reliable source when it comes to NASCAR stuff. And with him posting this today, it's got to get a lot of Mopar fans excited, and people in the sport excited too, because there's not just Mopar fans that are excited about Dodge and Ram returning. A lot of people that are, not fans of Ram and Dodge, they want to see more competition. So with that being said, it's only positive vibes going forward. So leave your comments below. What do you think of possibly Cleetus McFarland being a NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series owner under the Ram brand, possibly racing a Ram and being a brand ambassador? Also, what do you think of the whole NASCAR return? Are you I know a lot of people are ticked off about NASCAR and how the series is run nowadays. Are you happy that, Dodge and Ram are looking at going back to the series, or could you care less? So leave your comments below. I'm interested to see them, and make sure to hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.